Have you ever looked at your phone, seen it ringing, and thought, I'll answer later? It seems like such a small decision. You assume there will be another chance, another call, another moment. Most of the time, that's true, but not always. And what's interesting is that the most important calls in life rarely announce themselves as important. They don't arrive with flashing lights or dramatic music. They show up looking completely ordinary. That's why so many people miss them. I'm not just talking about a phone call. I'm talking about the opportunities that quietly knock on your door, the ideas that wake you up in the middle of the night, the feeling that tells you it's time to change your life, the conversation you've been avoiding, the risk you've been too afraid to take. Life has a strange way of calling us over and over again, but because it doesn't shout, we convince ourselves it can wait. The truth is, comfort is one of the loudest distractions in the world. It whispers, tomorrow is fine, next week is better, wait until you're ready. But tomorrow becomes next month, next year, and before you realize it, you've spent years ignoring the very thing that could have changed everything. Every breakthrough begins with someone answering a call that everyone else ignored. Every great invention started as an idea that sounded impossible. Every extraordinary life is built on moments where someone chose action instead of hesitation. The difference between people who transform the world and those who only dream about it isn't luck. It's that one group answers when opportunity calls, even when they're uncertain. Here's the challenge. Opportunity rarely calls at a convenient time. It interrupts your routine. It asks you to leave behind what's familiar. It demands courage before it offers proof. That's why so many people let it ring until it stops. They're waiting for certainty. But certainty is a luxury that progress has never required. Think about your own life. How many ideas have you postponed because you thought you needed more experience? How many conversations have you delayed because they felt uncomfortable? How many dreams have you placed on hold because the timing didn't seem perfect? Those aren't random moments, those are calls. And every unanswered call leaves behind a question that echoes for years. What if I had answered? Life doesn't wait for perfect conditions, and neither should you. The next call you receive may not come through a speaker in your pocket. It may come through your instincts, your curiosity, or that persistent voice inside you, refusing to stay silent. When it comes, don't silence it. Don't postpone it. Answer it, because the future belongs to those who refuse to let destiny go to voicemail. Once you begin to recognize those calls, you also begin to understand something that most people never think about. Every missed call has a cost. The difficult part is that the cost isn't always visible in the moment. It's rarely immediate. That's what makes it so dangerous. We notice the price of making a mistake, but we often ignore the price of doing nothing. Imagine standing at a crossroads with two paths in front of you. One path is uncertain, uncomfortable, and filled with risk. The other feels safe because it's familiar. Most people choose familiarity, believing they've avoided danger. But staying exactly where you are is also a decision. Refusing to move forward carries its own consequences. Time keeps moving, whether you move with it or not. 1 year of hesitation may not seem significant. 5 years of hesitation changes the direction of your life. A decade of hesitation can completely redefine who you become. The opportunities you didn't pursue don't simply wait patiently for your return. Many of them disappear, and new doors often require the courage to walk through the old ones first. Think about relationships. How many friendships have faded because neither person made the first call? How many families have been divided because pride was louder than love? How many people carry the weight of words they never said simply because they assumed there would always be another chance? Silence has ended more relationships than arguments ever have. Now think about your ambitions, the business you wanted to build, the skill you promised yourself you would learn, the book you wanted to write, the company you dreamed of creating. Every day spent waiting feels harmless on its own, but delay compounds just like progress does. While you're waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is learning, building, experimenting, failing, improving, and moving closer to their goal. Here's something I've learned: failure is expensive, but regret costs even more. Failure teaches you something valuable. Regret gives you nothing except endless questions. You can recover from losing money. You can recover from criticism. You can recover from a project that doesn't succeed. But recovering from years spent wondering what could have been is far more difficult. Life has an invisible clock that none of us can see. We all assume there's more time than there actually is. We postpone important conversations. We delay bold decisions. We keep telling ourselves that someday will finally begin. But someday is not a date on the calendar. It's an illusion that quietly steals today. The greatest losses in life are often not the opportunities we took and failed at. They are the opportunities we never had the courage to answer. So when the next call arrives, remember this: the price of action is temporary, but the price of hesitation can echo for a lifetime. Don't let the cost of inaction become the story you leave behind. Understanding that every missed call has a cost naturally leads to a more personal question. What if the call wasn't about an opportunity at all? What if it was about a person? We spend so much time chasing the future that we sometimes forget the people walking beside us today. And often they don't ask for much. They don't ask for perfection. They don't ask for grand gestures. Sometimes they just hope we'll answer. Picture this for a moment. Your phone rings while you're in the middle of work. You glance at the screen. It's someone you know well, a parent, a close friend, a sibling, or someone who has always been there for you. You think, I'll call back in an hour. An hour becomes a day becomes a week. Life gets busy, meetings pile up, messages keep arriving, and eventually that missed call fades into the background. It feels insignificant, but what if that call wasn't ordinary? Maybe they weren't calling because they needed information. Maybe they were feeling alone. Maybe they had received difficult news and didn't know who else to turn to. Maybe they simply wanted to hear a familiar voice before making a life-changing decision. Sometimes people don't say, I need help. They just call. They hope someone will answer. One of the greatest illusions of modern life is that being connected means we're truly present. We have faster internet, smarter devices, and endless ways to communicate, yet many people feel more isolated than ever. We respond to notifications from strangers within seconds, but postpone conversations with the people who matter most. Technology has made communication easier, but it has not automatically made connection deeper. Success should never come at the expense of humanity. Building great things is important. Solving difficult problems is important. Pushing the limits of what's possible is important. But none of those achievements replace the value of being there when another human being needs you. Years from now, people are unlikely to remember how quickly you replied to an email or how many meetings you attended. They will remember whether you showed up when it truly mattered. The reality is that none of us know when a conversation will become the last one. We assume there will always be another birthday, another weekend, another chance to say, I'm proud of you, I forgive you, or simply, how are you? That assumption is comforting, but it isn't guaranteed, so don't wait for perfect timing to reconnect with someone you've been thinking about. Don't postpone kindness because you're busy. Don't let pride keep you silent when love is asking you to speak. The most meaningful calls in life are often the ones that never make the headlines, but they change someone's world forever. And one day, You'll realize that the greatest achievement wasn't answering the call that built your future. It was answering the one that reminded someone they weren't facing life alone. When you begin answering the people who matter most, something else starts to change. You become more aware of another kind of call, the ones that don't come from another person at all. They come from life itself. And here's the fascinating part: life almost never shouts, it whispers. We're conditioned to notice the loudest things: breaking news, trending topics, notifications, endless opinions competing for our attention every second of the day. In all that noise, it's easy to believe that if something is truly important, it will be impossible to ignore. But the opposite is often true. The most meaningful direction you'll ever receive usually arrives quietly. It might be an idea that keeps returning no matter how many times you push it away. It might be a sense that you're capable of more than the life you've settled into. It could be the feeling that you're solving the wrong problem, walking the wrong path, or spending your energy on things that won't matter 5 years from now. These moments rarely make logical sense at first. They don't come with guarantees or detailed instructions. They simply ask you to pay attention. The world rewards people who observe what others overlook. Every major breakthrough begins with someone noticing a pattern everyone else dismissed. Curiosity isn't just about asking questions. It's about listening carefully enough to hear answers that haven't been spoken out loud yet. That's true in science, in business, and in life. Think about how many remarkable discoveries began with a simple question that refused to disappear. Someone looked at an impossible challenge and asked, "Why does it have to stay this way?" That quiet question eventually became an invention, a company, or an entirely new way of thinking. Before it changed the world, it was just a small voice that could have been ignored. The same principle applies to your own life. Your instincts are often gathering information long before your conscious mind catches up. You notice small inconsistencies. You sense opportunities before you can explain them. You feel drawn towards something that doesn't yet fit into a logical plan. Too many people silence those feelings because they can't immediately justify them. But progress has never depended entirely on certainty. It has always required the courage to explore what others overlook. That doesn't mean every impulse is correct. It means every meaningful possibility deserves your attention. Listen carefully. Test your ideas. Stay curious. Learn relentlessly. Let evidence shape your decisions, but don't ignore the quiet spark that inspired you to begin searching in the first place. If you only respond to the loudest voices around you, you'll spend your life chasing someone else's priorities. But if you learn to hear the quiet signals that come from deep curiosity, honest reflection, and a willingness to see beyond the obvious, you'll discover paths that most people never even notice. The future doesn't usually announce itself with thunder. It arrives as a whisper, waiting for someone brave enough to listen before the rest of the world finally hears it too. If life speaks in quiet ways, then the next question becomes obvious. If we can hear those signals, why don't we act? Why do so many people recognize what they should do, yet continue waiting? The answer isn't usually a lack of intelligence or ability. More often, it's something much simpler and much more powerful. We convince ourselves that waiting feels safer than moving. Fear has an incredible talent for disguising itself as logic. It doesn't always say, "Don't do it." Instead, it says, "Do a little more research. Wait until the timing is better. Save a little more money. Gain a little more experience. You'll know when you're ready." On the surface, those thoughts sound responsible. But if you listen closely, they're often just fear wearing the mask of preparation. The reality is that no one ever feels completely ready for the moments that matter most. You don't feel fully prepared before starting a company, changing careers, pursuing a dream, or making a life-changing decision. Readiness isn't something you discover first. It's something you build by taking the first step. Another reason we wait is because we're addicted to certainty. We want guarantees before we invest our energy. We want proof before we believe. We want success before we're willing to risk failure. But that's not how progress works. Innovation has never come from waiting until every variable was known. It comes from moving forward, learning quickly, adapting constantly, and refusing to let uncertainty become an excuse. Then there's comfort. Comfort is incredibly persuasive because it asks for almost nothing. It tells you that today's routine is good enough, that your current situation isn't perfect, but it's predictable, and predictability feels safe. The danger is that comfort rarely announces when it has become a cage. It slowly convinces you to trade possibility for familiarity until years pass, and the life you imagined becomes a distant memory. We also wait because we compare ourselves to others. We look at someone else's success and assume they possessed confidence we don't have. What we don't see are the countless moments when they were uncertain, exhausted, and afraid, but chose to move anyway. Confidence is not the starting point of action. It's the result of repeated action. Every day you delay, you're making a silent decision about the future you're willing to accept. Time doesn't pause while you think. The world keeps evolving. New opportunities emerge. Old ones disappear. The cost of waiting isn't measured only in lost time. It's measured in the version of yourself that never gets the chance to exist. So stop negotiating with fear. Stop asking for guarantees that life has never promised anyone. Stop waiting for a perfect moment that has never existed. The moment you choose action over hesitation, you change the trajectory of your future. The distance between the life you dream about and the life you actually live is often just one decision, the decision to stop waiting and finally answer the call. The remarkable thing is that once you stop waiting, life begins to unfold in ways you could never have predicted. Looking back, people often describe their success as if it were the result of one brilliant master plan, but that's rarely how it happens. More often, everything changes because of a single moment, a decision that seemed small at the time, but quietly altered the direction of an entire life. Imagine someone standing at the edge of an opportunity they've dreamed about for years. Every reason to walk away is staring them in the face. They don't have enough experience. They don't have enough money. The people around them are skeptical. The odds don't look promising. Logic says it's too risky. Fear says it's impossible. Yet something inside refuses to let the idea go. That person makes one choice. Not because the fear disappears, but because the purpose becomes stronger than the fear. The next day doesn't suddenly become easy. There are setbacks. There are failures. Plans fall apart, critics appear, mistakes are made. There are nights filled with doubt and mornings that begin with more questions than answers. From the outside, it might even look like the decision was the wrong one. But here's what most people miss. Every obstacle becomes part of the education. Every failure reveals something that success never could. Every challenge forces new thinking. Growth isn't created by avoiding difficulty, it's created by confronting it with persistence. Over time, small improvements begin to compound. One lesson leads to another. One connection opens a new door. One experiment creates an unexpected breakthrough. The momentum that seemed impossible at the beginning slowly becomes undeniable. Years later, people look at the result and call it an overnight success, forgetting that the turning point happened long before anyone was paying attention. This pattern repeats itself across every field. Whether you're building a business, creating new technology, strengthening a relationship, or transforming your own life, the defining moment is rarely dramatic. It's often quiet. It's the instant you decide that uncertainty will no longer control your future. The truth is, your life probably contains one of those moments right now. It may not look extraordinary. It might simply be an idea you've been postponing, a conversation you've been avoiding, or a goal you've convinced yourself can wait another year. But what feels ordinary today may become the story you tell for the rest of your life. When people ask what changed everything, they often expect the answer to be a lucky break, a perfect opportunity, or the right timing. More often than not, the real answer is much simpler. Everything changed because someone finally said yes when every excuse was telling them to say no. Your future isn't waiting for you to become fearless. It's waiting for you to become decisive. The moment you answer the call you've been avoiding, you stop wondering what your life could become, and you begin building the life only you were capable of creating. Once you experience what happens when you stop ignoring the calls that shape your future, another realization becomes impossible to ignore. Not every call deserves your attention. In a world where everyone is competing for your time, your focus becomes one of your most valuable resources. Every day, countless voices ask for your energy. Notifications demand an instant response. Trends tell you where to look. Opinions tell you what to believe. Expectations tell you who you're supposed to become. If you answer every call, you'll eventually lose the ability to hear the ones that truly matter. The hardest part of living with purpose isn't learning how to say yes. It's learning how to say no. Every meaningful achievement requires sacrifice. Every significant mission demands that you protect your attention from distractions that appear urgent but contribute very little to the life you're trying to build. Think about the people who have stood by you through your hardest moments, the family members who believed in you before anyone else did, the friends who encouraged you when success was nothing more than an idea, the mentors who challenged you to think bigger. These are not interruptions to your journey. They are part of the reason the journey is possible in the first place. The same is true for your purpose. Deep inside, most people already know what matters most to them. They know the dream they keep postponing. They know the values they refuse to compromise. They know the work that gives them energy instead of taking it away. Yet they allow constant distraction to bury that inner clarity beneath endless noise. The future isn't built by people who react to everything. It's built by people who choose carefully what deserves their attention. They don't confuse activity with progress. They don't measure success by how busy they appear. They measure it by whether their actions move them closer to something meaningful. There will always be another meeting, another notification, another headline, another demand on your schedule. Those things never stop, but opportunities to tell someone you love them, to inspire a young mind, to pursue an idea that could change lives, or to become the person you know you're capable of becoming, those moments are limited. They don't wait forever. Ask yourself a simple question. If your life were reduced to the choices you make every day, would it reflect what you truly value? Or would it reflect whatever happened to capture your attention first? That's a difficult question because it forces honesty. But honest questions create meaningful change. Success is not about answering the most calls. It's about answering the right ones. Protect your time, protect your relationships, protect your curiosity, protect your purpose. When you choose what truly deserves your attention, you stop living by accident and start living by intention. And in the end, the calls that define your life will never be the loudest. They will be the ones that lead you closer to the person you were meant to become. As we reach the end of this conversation, I want to leave you with one thought that has the power to change the way you see every tomorrow. Time is the one resource that every person on this planet receives in exactly the same way, one moment at a time. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how successful you become, or how advanced technology gets. No one has ever invented a machine that can create yesterday again. Once a moment passes, it belongs to history. That's why the phrase, before it's too late, carries so much weight. It isn't meant to create fear, it's meant to create awareness. We live as though life will always give us another opportunity to say the words we've been holding back, to chase the dream we've delayed, to forgive the person we've been avoiding, or to become the version of ourselves we've always imagined. But life has never promised unlimited chances. It only offers the opportunity that exists right now. One day, you'll look back on this season of your life. You won't remember every email you answered or every notification you checked. You'll remember the moments when you had the courage to act. You'll remember the risks that made you grow. You'll remember the conversations that healed relationships. You'll remember the decisions that transformed uncertainty into possibility. Don't underestimate the power of one decision made today. A single phone call can repair years of silence. One honest conversation can rebuild trust. One bold step can begin a journey that changes not only your future, but the future of people you'll never even meet. History is full of lives that were transformed because someone refused to wait for perfect conditions. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be unfinished plans, unanswered questions, and unpredictable circumstances. If you make certainty the requirement for action, you'll spend your life standing still while the world moves forward. Progress has never belonged to those who waited until everything was guaranteed. It has always belonged to those who moved with conviction despite uncertainty. So when you leave here today, don't just feel inspired. Inspiration fades if it isn't followed by action. Make the call you've been avoiding. Start the project you've been imagining. Learn the skill you've been postponing. Tell the people who matter what they mean to you. Take responsibility for the future you want instead of hoping it arrives on its own. Years from now, your life will not be defined by the opportunities that appeared before you. It will be defined by the opportunities you had the courage to answer. The clock is moving whether you notice it or not. Every second is asking you the same question. What will you do with this moment? Don't wait for another sign. Don't wait for another year. Don't wait until regret becomes your loudest memory. The call is ringing now, and the decision you make today may become the moment that changes everything before it's too late.